Greetings, dear viewers. Welcome to The Price of Cheating, the channel that celebrates traditional family values and explores the consequences of betrayal. If you cherish loyalty and honor the sanctity of commitment, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe as we delve deep into stories of the heart, fidelity, and the devastating cost of straying from love. Let's begin. The evening shimmered with energy, the air alive with chatter, laughter, and the soft clink of glasses. The elegant room was a hub of activity, each corner humming with spirited conversations as the business event unfolded in all its grandeur. For me, it was one of those rare moments of social perfection, where everything seemed to align effortlessly. Swept up in a lively atmosphere, I laughed easily and mingled with a carefree enthusiasm I hadn't felt in years. A few glasses of wine had smoothed my edges, leaving me buoyant and bold. Around me, the buzz of the crowd amplified my excitement, creating an intoxicating sense of belonging. Yet, on the fringes of the room stood Victor, my husband. Victor was never one for such gatherings, a man of quiet pleasures. He preferred the warmth of a serene evening to the vibrant chaos of crowded events. He observed from a distance, his presence calm yet unmistakable, a silent anchor in the swirl of noise. But in my self-absorbed euphoria, I barely noticed him. Or maybe, deep down, I chose not to. The group I was with had shifted into a playful mood, tossing around light-hearted jokes that flirted with irreverence. Someone made a jest about husbands being under their wives' thumbs, and I, caught up in the moment, joined in. My laughter rang out, too loud, too exaggerated, fueled by the laughter of others. I added a quip of my own, a careless, biting remark about Victor. The words, sharp and unkind, spilled from my lips before I could think. The laughter around me swelled, feeding my fleeting sense of triumph. For a moment, I reveled in the attention, oblivious to the damage I had just inflicted. But when I replay that moment now, I see it clearly. The way Victor's posture stiffened, his face clouding with pain. His shoulders sagged, weighed down by my betrayal. At the time, I was too wrapped up in the crowd's amusement to notice the hurt I had caused, too blind to see that my victory had come at a cost far greater than I could comprehend. The atmosphere shifted as Victor moved toward me, his steps measured and deliberate. The vibrant chatter around us faded into a dull hum, leaving only the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I greeted him with a forced smile, hoping he hadn't heard my cruel words. But his eyes told a different story. When he spoke, his voice was soft, barely audible, yet his words carried the weight of finality. "It's over." 2 words. Just 2. He turned and walked away, leaving the room and my world in disarray. The laughter and noise around me continued unabated, but for me, time seemed to stop. My breath hitched, my body frozen in place as the enormity of his statement washed over me. I wanted to run after him, to take back the cutting remark, to beg for forgiveness, but guilt held me rooted to the spot. All I could do was replay the moment over and over in my mind. The laughter, the thoughtless joke, the fleeting validation that had cost me everything. Victor was gone, and with him went the life we had built together, the love we had once shared. As the evening carried on around me, I stood lost, consumed by the weight of my regret. Looking back, I realized the woman I had become was unrecognizable. The woman who had loved Victor for his quiet strength, his unwavering patience, and his gentle soul had faded into someone driven by ambition, blinded by success, and starved for recognition. But it wasn't always like this. I wasn't always like this. We had met on a rainy afternoon in a cozy cafe. I was rushing, as usual, juggling too many tasks when I spilled coffee all over myself. Embarrassed and flustered, I tried to clean up the mess, but Victor stepped in with a kind smile and a napkin. There was no grand gesture, no flashy introduction, just quiet kindness. Our first date was equally understated. We walked in the park, talking for hours, sharing fragments of our lives. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen, not as the polished, driven version of myself, but as the person I was beneath all the layers. Victor was different from the brash, attention-seeking men I was used to. His calm presence and quiet ambition grounded me. He dreamed of building a business, not for wealth or status, but for the simple joy of creating something meaningful. I admired his patience, his ability to find fulfillment in the journey rather than the destination. A year later, we were married in a small, intimate ceremony. As we exchanged vows, I believed in every word with all my heart. We promised to weather life's storms together, to hold on to each other no matter what came our way. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of those promises. Victor's business struggled while my career soared. I threw myself into work, chasing success with relentless determination. The more I achieved, the more I demanded from myself, from life, and from Victor. In my pursuit of recognition, I began to see Victor not as a man I had once loved, but as someone who lacked the drive and ambition I equated with worth. The very qualities that had once drawn me to him, his steadiness, his quiet contentment, became sources of frustration. I wanted him to change, to mirror my hunger for success. And when he didn't, I let my dissatisfaction fester. Sarcasm turned into sharp remarks, which evolved into outright belittlement. My words, once kind and loving, became weapons. Reflecting now, I see that my cruelty was a mask for my own insecurities. I had convinced myself that diminishing Victor would elevate me, but all it did was reveal my own flaws. The unraveling of our relationship wasn't sudden. It was a slow, insidious process, a gradual erosion of love, trust, and respect. Now, I replay every moment, searching for the turning point, the moment when admiration turned to resentment. But it wasn't a single moment. It was a series of small betrayals, tiny cracks that deepened over time until the foundation of our love crumbled. And now, I am left with nothing but regret. Victor is gone. The life we built together is over. And I am left to face the devastating truth. I became the very person I never wanted to be, the kind of person who betrays the one they love. The price of cheating. Welcome, dear viewer, to The Price of Cheating, where we hold a mirror to the trials of love, loyalty, and human frailty. If you cherish traditional family values and believe in the sanctity of commitment, subscribe now as we delve into the unraveling of a marriage once thought unbreakable. Let us begin. The room glimmered with the soft glow of chandeliers, a symphony of conversations filling the air, punctuated by the occasional clink of glasses. It was one of those evenings where everything seemed perfectly aligned, a celebration of success, camaraderie, and elegance. I laughed with friends, feeling buoyed by the vibrant energy of the crowd. A few drinks had loosened my reserve, making me bolder, more carefree. The world around me pulsed with life, and for a brief moment, I felt invincible. But Victor, my husband, stood on the periphery, a quiet observer amidst the revelry. Social gatherings had never been his forte. He preferred the calm of intimate evenings over the chaos of events like this. His presence was steady, grounding, but that night, swept up in the tide of laughter and flattery, I barely noticed him, or perhaps I chose not to. The group I was with turned playful, tossing jokes and teasing one another. Someone made a comment about how men were always under their wives' thumbs, and without thinking, I joined in. My laughter rang out, louder and sharper than necessary, drawing attention to myself. And then, in a thoughtless moment, I made a cutting quip about Victor. The words left my lips with a sting I didn't fully grasp until later. The group erupted in laughter, feeding my misplaced triumph. I reveled in the fleeting validation, oblivious to the pain I'd caused. Across the room, Victor's posture stiffened. His shoulders sagged under the weight of my betrayal, but his face remained composed, though shadowed with hurt. In the moment, I ignored the warning signs. The lively atmosphere dimmed as Victor approached, his steps deliberate, his expression unreadable. The laughter and chatter around me seemed to fade into a distant hum. I greeted him with a forced smile, hoping he hadn't heard my cruel remark. But he had. "It's over," he said, his voice low but cutting through the air like a blade. The room tilted as his words sank in. My world shattered in an instant. The laughter and validation that had filled me moments before now hollow and meaningless. Victor turned and walked away, leaving me frozen, anchored in guilt and regret. A love that once was. Victor wasn't always the distant figure in the corner. Once. He had been the steady, unshakable center of my world. I remember the rainy afternoon we met. How he handed me a napkin with a gentle smile after I spilled coffee all over myself. His presence was calm and assured, disarming me in a way I hadn't expected. Our first date was nothing extravagant. We walked in the park, talking for hours, sharing fragments of ourselves. For the first time in years, I felt seen, not for who I pretended to be, but for who I truly was. His quiet ambition and unwavering patience drew me in completely. When we married, it was in a small, intimate ceremony surrounded by only those who mattered most. As we exchanged vows, I believed with all my heart that we would weather life's storms together. But as time passed, those promises slipped through my fingers, lost in the whirlwind of ambition and self-doubt. Victor's small business struggled, but his resolve never wavered. Meanwhile, my corporate career soared. I threw myself into work, chasing validation and accolades and promotions, all while neglecting the steady man who stood beside me. The erosion. At first, my dissatisfaction with Victor was subtle, a flicker of frustration when his ambitions didn't match my own. Over time, that flicker grew into a flame. I began to see his steady nature not as a strength, but as a weakness. My words, once tender, turned sharp. I made jokes at his expense, cloaking cruelty in humor. At a dinner party, someone asked about Victor's business. Before he could answer, I made a remark about his relaxed pace, drawing laughter from the group. Even Victor laughed, though his smile faltered. That moment gave me a perverse sense of power. But I saw the cracks forming. His laughter grew quieter, his eyes dimmed. Still, I pressed on, blinded by my insecurities. My career demanded more of me, more success, more admiration, and I began to view Victor as an anchor holding me back. I wanted him to change, to mirror my ambition, but he remained steadfast, content with his journey. That contentment became a mirror, reflecting my own inadequacies. I resented him for it. The breaking point. The end wasn't dramatic. It came quietly, on an ordinary evening. Victor had cooked dinner, as he often did. Exhausted from work, I made a snide comment about how he must have too much free time. He didn't respond, just sat there, his fork idle on his plate. Finally, he spoke. "I can't do this anymore." At first, I dismissed it. "What are you talking about? Don't be ridiculous." But he met my gaze, and for the first time in years, I saw the depth of his sorrow. "This isn't a rough patch, Anna. It's broken, and I don't think it can be fixed." Panic surged through me. "We just need more time," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you." He shook his head, his expression resigned. "I don't think I have anything left to give." And then he left, the door closing softly behind him. The aftermath. The house felt unbearably empty in his absence. I sat at the dinner table, staring at his empty chair, replaying the moment over and over. My words, my actions, they had chipped away at him until there was nothing left. Victor had been my anchor, my steady lighthouse in the storm. But I had mistaken his strength for weakness, his patience for complacency. In my pursuit of validation, I had destroyed the one thing that mattered most. I loved him. I still do. But love, as Victor said, isn't always enough. Thank you for tuning in to The Price of Cheating. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. Let us all remember, loyalty, kindness, and love are fragile treasures. Cherish them before it's too late.